Hey yo, salute to all my subscribers, and a special shout out to everybody else passing through. YouTube, what's good? Alright, so I'm back again with another video in the 50 video campaign, 50 secrets it's okay to keep from your partner. Those of you just joining me, this is, I believe, video number 10, could be 9, but there's a playlist on this channel right now titled 50 secrets it's okay to keep from your partner, so go check it out. That's where all of these videos will be exclusively. Basically, I came across an article on MSN titled 50 Secrets It's Okay to Keep from Your Partner, and I'm going through each one, breaking them down, giving my opinion and assessment as to whether or not it is in fact okay to keep these things from your partner. If so, why? And if not, why not? Next video in this 50 video campaign, or I should say, the next item on this this list of 50 things is you feel like or you think your partner is too sensitive. The article says sometimes your partner might get upset about something you think is no big deal. You asked them to do or not do something, and they reacted in a way you felt was out of proportion. But saying you're too sensitive can make them feel ashamed or defensive. Instead, ask gently if they can explain why they're so upset. Now, this item here is a little difficult to simply agree or not agree with. In the chapter of my first book, 365 Days to Seasonal Change, I talk about how perception is reality. And that book, for those of you just joining my channel, is available on Amazon and Kindle. It's also in the description box of all of my videos, so go check out my first book. Second book, Relationship Etiquette, coming soon. But back to this. People are, I say this all the time, people are the sum total of their life's experiences, the things that they've been exposed to, the things that they have been conditioned by based on those exposures. And it's impossible to ever, you should never tell a person that they're too anything or not enough anything. To tell a person they're too sensitive, I think is oxymoronic. I don't think I've ever told anyone I've ever met that you're too sensitive. Because that, to word it that way, to me, in my logical brain, doesn't make any sense. Because you don't know what a person's triggers are. You don't know why people feel the way they feel. You don't know why people correlate certain things to other things. Now, I will say this though, and I've said this before, often on this platform as well. I'm only ever responsible for what I say. I'm never responsible for how you take it. That's your responsibility. And if you take something that I say, or if you take something that I do to mean a certain thing, or if it makes you feel a certain way, your responsibility is to tell me that you feel that way, and then we can have a conversation or discussion about it. So this one's a little bit different. The only obligation here I would say is always speak your mind. You know what I'm saying? The thing that makes this difficult is, and it's all on the perception, right? It's all on the person who is observing, who's perceiving. I don't do or say anything to be mean or to be an asshole. Some people perceive it that way, but again, it's not my problem. I only do and say things that I feel a way about. If I say something to you, it may come across as mean. I'm simply saying it because it's literally what I feel, and it is relevant in that situation. I don't go out of my way to sound mean or to be hurtful. I just don't pacify adults. I just don't bite my tongue. I just don't mince my words. That's just the way that I choose to live my life. I've always lived my life that way. And there are people who either love me or hate me, but my circle is tight and it has always remained that way. And I have friends that I have been dealing with for the past 20 years who are still in my circle. Those who are not just because either I got tired of mending those relationships and maintaining those relationships, or in life sometimes people just go their separate ways. But me being the kind of person that I am, my personality type, I don't have many enemies. I really don't have any enemies. I am an acquired taste because of the way I choose to live my life and carry myself. But I think it's the best way to be. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem with so many issues in the adult world, is that people walk around like they're on eggshells and don't want to say shit. And when you're completely free and don't have an issue with who you offend or might offend, or what you say and how you say it, that opens the door for a lot of honesty. It's a whole different platform. And that could be a big part of the reason why I'm so respected with everybody I come across for the most part, because I do speak my mind. I don't, the only time I'm ever going to go out of my way to speak my mind like crazy harsh is if I feel disrespected. If I feel disrespected, I'm going to match that energy. But I would never tell a person they're too sensitive, and nobody could ever tell me I'm too sensitive because I operate off of principles. I operate off of respect. So what it is it's about having a conversation with your partner. Um, if you say something to your partner and they take it a certain way, and now they're moping around, they're giving you the silent treatment, or they're in their feelings and they're not saying anything to you about it, it's not your problem, not your responsibility. You're only ever responsible if your partner comes to you and says that something you did or said to them made them feel some way, shape, or form. They took it a certain way or whatever. Then you're obligated to have that conversation with them. But to simply tell somebody that you feel like they're too sensitive, you can. I mean, I don't have an issue with you doing it. I don't think that you have to, even if you feel that way. I just think it's one of those things where if the problem comes up, you deal with it. If someone mentions to you that something you did or said made them feel sensitive, then you have that conversation with them and try to come to some kind of understanding, because this is the problem in relationships, in anything in life. It's very rarely what is said or done to someone that is wrong, especially if what is said is really what is felt and it's real and it's honest. More often than not, the problems come in because of what is said or done is a trigger to someone for something that was said or done prior to them, some past experience. It could be a past experience with that partner, that current partner, or it could be a past experience that had nothing to do with that partner, or maybe didn't even have anything to do with relationships. Could be something that happened during their upbringing or what have you. So people, it's twofold. The person who feels the partner is overly sensitive um, has a responsibility, once that's communicated to them that something they did made that partner feel sensitive, to, I guess, try and help and explore what really the trigger was, because that, or what not the trigger was, because the trigger is what was said or done, but what really was behind that, like what really was the point of that person really feeling that way, because I have no control over that, especially if you've never communicated that to me. Now, the person who feels sensitive has an obligation. If you're gonna hold something against someone, if you're gonna be upset at someone, if you're gonna feel like someone caused you pain, you're responsible for communicating that to them. And if you're gonna communicate that you felt like something that someone did or said caused you pain in any way, before you do that, you need to sit and think and have a conversation with yourself and be self-reflective to figure out, where did that really come from? Was it really because of that partner? Was it something that they really did? Or is there something underlying there? Because I don't know how many times I've come across situations and have seen situations secondhand, and people are mad at a person, and what they're mad at has nothing to do with that person. Nothing at all. They might have been triggered by that person, but the ultimate root cause of what that trigger set off had nothing to do with that person. And so in that sense, no, they're not responsible for that. And you're not responsible for being triggered. No one's ever responsible for being triggered, because when you're dealing with trauma, and when you're dealing with past stress or past situations that provoke a certain state of mind for you, you're not responsible for that either, because that technically classifies you as a victim. But you are responsible, especially with a partner, for communicating that if that's how you feel. And if you're not going to communicate that, then you have, in my opinion, you have no right to feel that way, because if you feeling that way is going to affect the relationship, then you should feel obligated to have that conversation with that partner. Excuse me. So, I'm kind of in the middle with this one. Again, I guess for the person who, if this is after a situation and you feel like this person is just way too sensitive, conversation definitely obviously needs to be had between the two partners. I just don't know how meaningful or how I don't know. I don't see where saying someone is too sensitive is not necessarily the right thing to do, but I don't see that angle. I don't see, you know what I'm saying? It's oxymoronic to me. I don't agree with it. Um, I don't even see why it's on the list, honestly. Um, it's not really much I can say about it. I mean, I've heard people share those opinions with me, and I've heard people say to other people, you're too sensitive. But I think that's retarded. That's like telling someone they're too human, or like telling someone it's just one of those things. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Um, so it is what it is. I mean, for the people who have been told they're too sensitive, I can't tell you to not be affected by something that someone does or says. But half the people that I know who have been told that, um, if I've been told by 10 friends of mine that they have been told in their relationships that they're too sensitive, at least 5 of those friends who have told me that, when I've asked the question, well, did you communicate what you felt a certain way about? The answer was no. So that's kind of where the root of that problem is. Have that conversation. It's nobody's fault if you say something and someone else says something and you take it a certain way. They may have been joking. You don't know. Or they may have meant it a completely different way than how you meant it. A lot of problems in relationship happens because someone on one side and someone on the other side says and or does something or perpetrates or observes something, but then no one ever comes back to the middle and says, hey, about that, what did you mean by that? See, I guess that's the problem. Someone who feels a person is too sensitive, I wonder if it's that that person never asked the question, what did you mean by that? Because I guess you can be too sensitive if I say something, and it could be in a joking fashion, it could be, you know what I'm saying, it could be anything outside of what you thought it was, and then you just scurry off to a corner and you feel a way about it, or you just start crying or you start screaming or whatever, but you don't ask, what did you mean by that? Like, what exactly are you talking about? Because with me, I'm the kind of person you never have to ask me what I mean by something. I'm going to say what I feel, what I mean, and then I'm going to break it down exactly what I'm talking about. But most people don't do that. Most people just say what they say, do what they do, and they don't elaborate or clarify. Now, if someone says something to me and I take it away, I'm going to confirm what exactly was it that you're trying to convey to me by saying that. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, clarify. So if I take something that somebody might feel is overly sensitive, it's only ever after I ask the question, what do you mean? And then if you clarify that and I still feel like it's away, I can't be too sensitive. It's impossible. I take what I take, how I take it. Now, it's not to say that you're responsible for it, because again, we're only ever responsible for what we say. We're not responsible for what people hear. And that's more often than not the problem. The problem is almost never what was actually said. The problem is almost always what a person hears and what is said. Because people don't pay attention to words anymore. People don't pay attention to the fact that words have meanings. And when you say something, people will take one or two words or a snippet out of that whole thing that you said, and that's what they'll harp on, and that's what they'll think that you're saying. So with me, man, you just gotta pay attention. When I talk, I'm very deliberate, I'm very specific. I say what I feel, I say what I mean, but there's a start to it, there's a substantive body or middle to it, and then there's an end that summarizes and wraps up exactly what I'm saying and why I said it. If you don't pay attention to that, if you don't hear that, if you're not smart enough to process that, not my problem. Have a conversation with me about it. I'll try my best to clarify as much as I can. But if I'm saying one thing and you're hearing something else, I can't compute those two. I can't. We're too far off the same page. At that point, we're probably not even reading from the same book. The theme here is always communicate. Always have the conversation. The theme here, no matter what the issue is, no matter what you think the issue is, talk to the person that you're in a relationship with. I don't understand why so many people get this wrong. There would be a lot more people, a lot less sensitive to shit if they were more forthcoming in their relationships. When you start a relationship, and you realize that it's a relationship, and you realize that it's a relationship that could potentially get serious and grow to become long term, have discussions with each other about past baggage. Because if you're coming into a situation, you're bringing past baggage with you. And if I don't know that past baggage, and I don't know how that past baggage has affected you, and it's almost impossible for me to move through that relationship with a clear understanding of what your triggers can potentially be. And so a person can never be held accountable for that if you have not had the conversation. And so many people don't seem to get how important this is and why I harp on it so much. We don't approach relationships with the preparation and with the deliberateness that we need to. And that shit needs to change. And the longer that it does not, the more people are going to be in fucked up relationships and not understand why and not understand how to fix them. And that's it. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Back at y'all shortly with another one in the 50 video campaign, the 50 secrets it's okay to keep from your partner. Let me know what y'all think about this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.